Okay, so this is just a quick tutorial on how to download USGS water data into a spreadsheet program like Microsoft Excel. So the first thing we want to do is navigate through the NWIS to our station that we're interested in. And the options for the data that we can get are through this drop down here at the top. Most often, you're going to want to download daily data for long-term data sets. If you wanted to download instantaneous data, that's available through the current and historical observations, but daily data is generally what you want to pick here. So you'd say go. That would bring you to the daily data page. And so here you can see some information about what parameters are available. This gauge only has discharge, but oftentimes there's stage data as well. For certain other sites, there are things like turbidity and suspended sediment and temperature. But generally, you're going to be after discharge data. So you want to make sure that you have discharge checked here in the available parameters. And then for the output format, you can get a generic graph, which shows up below here by default. You can do a graph with statistics. You can do graph with physical measurements. You can do table data, which is an HTML table, or you can do tab separated, which is what we'll do to get data into Microsoft Excel. So we'll click on tab separated there, and then we'll want to enter in the beginning and end dates of the data that we want to extract. And so again, generally we're going to do this for a water year. So we're going to start in October 1st of kind of the year before the water year that we want, and end in September 30th of the water year. So I'm going to use an example for this gauge of the water year 2006. So we'd start actually in October of 2005. So that's just changing the year and the date or the month. And then you actually have to physically click on the day to get the date in there. You could also just type in the dates here. So the end date for this would be 2006-09-30. Okay. So you can do it either way. You can use the date picker or you can type in dates. Just make sure that the dates have 2 digits for the month and 2 digits for the day. So we'll hit go on that, and that'll bring up a really basic text interface or text web page with our data. And so there's a lot of kind of commented information up here at the top about kind of some disclaimers about this data is provisional and blah, 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 blah. And that's not something we're going to need, but we'll download it to start with, and then we can delete it once we have it into Excel. But what you can see once we get down here to the bottom is that these are our actual data points. So you'll see that we have USGS as the agency. This is our gauge number, okay? The date and the discharge, okay? And then the code at the back end here is, they can be different for different sites. Usually they're going to be A for most older data, which is approved data. Some will be E for estimated data. If this was during a flood or during an ice event, that may be estimated data. Sometimes you'll see P's for very recent data, which is provisional data. It's still fine to use, but it's subject to revision. So in order to get this into Excel, we're going to select all of the data on this page, or all the text on this page. And so there's a couple of different ways to do that. One is to just click and hold your mouse at the top and drag down all the way to the bottom. For large data sets, this becomes kind of a challenge. Okay, so the other option is to do a select all. And so the way that you do this on a Windows machine is just to hit Control A, and that'll select everything. On a Mac, it's Command A, and that'll select everything on the screen. And then we're going to hit Control or Command C to copy, okay? Or you can right click on it and say copy that data. And then we're going to open up Microsoft Excel. okay, in just a blank spreadsheet. And we're going to click on this top left cell here and paste in that data. So you can right click and say paste, or it doesn't matter which paste you use here is keep source formatting or destination formatting. It's text data, so it's going to go in the same way. Or you can just hit Control or Command V to paste that data in. Now, these data are not in cells per se, okay? These are all in the first, all this text data is basically just in the first column of the spreadsheet. So down here, these aren't in cells, okay? So we can't do any math on them, we can't do any analysis on them. So the way that we have to kind of split up this data, okay, is first thing we're going to do is select all of these top rows here. Okay, so you click on the number row here and drag up to select all of those rows. We'll right click on the rows and we'll say delete because we don't need that data. Okay, so you'll see that everything pops up. And then we'll click on the A column here, which houses all of our data. And then we're going to go across on our top ribbon up here. We're going to go to data, and then over here to text to columns. Okay, this is a very useful and powerful tool built into Excel. And so there's two options in here. One is what are called delimited text files, which is that there are certain characters in the text string here that can split up the columns. And that's generally what you're going to use when you use this tool. So we'll click on delimited, we'll hit next. And then these data are actually space delimited. So we're going to hit space. And what you'll see down here in the data preview is that we get actual lines in between our chunks of data. Okay, so you can leave tabs selected, but Excel sees these as space characters and not tab characters, but leaving those both selected is fine. So when that looks right, when we have lines in between all of our data, we can hit next. Okay, you can play with these, but generally I just hit finish. So now you can see we actually have data in individual cells here. So the date column here gets a little bit screwed up, and so what you'll want to do is just grab the edge of that column and extend it out. Okay, or the quick way to do that, if it looks like this, is just to double click on the right hand edge of that column, and it'll auto expand out to fill up that column with those data. So now you have your data in, okay, and this is an entire year's worth of data. So this is a whole water year's worth of data in columns ready for analysis.